Is that American 11 trying to call?
Buddy, we have some planes. Just stay quiet and you'll be okay. We're heading to the airport.
And who's trying to call me here? American 11, are you trying to call?
Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll injure yourself and the airplane. Let's stay quiet.
That's good. I thought you were referencing for the move.
Get on that. I had one.
We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center where I understand, do we have it? No, we do not. We have a breaking story, though. We're going to come back with that in just a moment.
September 11th, 2001 is a day that will forever be etched in our memories. It was a day that changed the course of history and altered the way we live our lives. On that fateful day, the world watched in horror as the twin towers of the World Trade Center came crashing down, leaving behind a trail of devastation and loss of life. In this documentary, we will take a closer look at the events of 9/11 and their lasting impact on our society. We will explore how this tragedy has shaped our perceptions of the world and the people in it. Join us as we delve into the stories of those who were directly affected by the attacks and ask ourselves some tough questions about the world we live in today. Where were you when you learned about 9/11?
I was in the family room watching TV, and they interrupted the television, of course, to tell us what happened.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Bryant Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash.
I was working at my job in Windsor, Connecticut, because it was, well, obviously it was a Tuesday, 9/11, and it probably got on the news, you know, somewhat after 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And at that job, we had a cafeteria which had a lot of TVs in it, and, you know, when people were eating, they could watch TV a little bit. But somebody said, it's on TV, you know, that the plane hit the tower, and everyone thought maybe it was just, you know, an accident. But then later on, you know, yeah. I guess it was, I don't know, it was 20 or 30 minutes afterwards, the second plane hit, and then the news was starting to say it was not an accident.
Yeah.
Understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center. We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't.
On 9/11, I was just over a year old, so I had no idea it was happening. So I was probably in grade school when I first learned about it, like 3rd, 4th grade, when I actually like could understand what happened. But yeah, all of what's happened that day, I've only heard from like secondhand accounts from my grandfather, who was taking care of me that day, and then my mom, because she came to pick me up from my grandparents' house.
The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class. And I think there's mace that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
Well, I was in high school, at Bloomfield High School. I was in Spanish class at that time. We heard about it, and I think my teacher, she ended up having to, you know, roll in our old big screen TVs, get a radio, because her kid was actually in New York and she wasn't able to get her.
As of yet unconfirmed that a plane has hit the World Trade Center. And
I was in 8th grade, and I was in the downstairs of like that main building in language class, so it was Spanish in this case, because I think they did Spanish and French downstairs down there. but it was in Spanish class. We didn't have a TV at that point down there. Teachers didn't wheel one in or anything, but we found out there. And of course, for us, I think a few parents or someone, or people had relatives close by that were affected, so people were like pulled out of class immediately. And
It does not appear that there's any kind of an effort up there yet. Now remember, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That looks like a second plane.
Has
I
just
did
hit.
not see a plane go in.
You have no idea right now.
There's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it. Explosion.
What do you think of when you hear the name Osama bin Laden and have his acts impacted the way you view Muslims?
Well, I'm not too happy with him. I don't like a lot of the stuff about Muslims and the way they, especially the way they treat women and children, and they seem like kind of barbaric in a lot of the things that they do.
What the hell was that?
It sounded like a plane crash.
Hey, Beth. What is that?
Well, I'm glad that they were able to kill him because obviously he was the one responsible for this. But I don't hold any Muslims responsible. Like if I see a person, I don't judge them on bin Laden.
Number 2.
Yeah. This just in, you
Matt
were
just
looking
mentioned
at
we have a breaking
obviously
news
very
story to tell you
disturbing
about.
launch out there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed.
As we come on now, we have serious news of a major, a very tragic story right now. Incredible.
When I think of Osama bin Laden, the name doesn't even really ring anything anymore. I grew up with Saddam Hussein, and that was the key brown terrorist at the time. Osama bin Laden was done, over with, got rid of, and then replaced with the next brown individual. Does it impact the way I feel about Muslims? No. Pretty much the way that Muslims were treated at the time is how black people are treated every day.
Page 153.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's impacted the way I view Muslims or anything like that. I think everyone and every religion has, people that do things that are wrong and bad. That doesn't mean that should change your view of, that specific people or religion or, anything like that.
David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're looking at live pictures of the Pentagon where there is billowing smoke. Jim Miklashevsky just reported that he heard an explosion, and right now we're looking at an aerial view of the Pentagon.
There are reports that the Pentagon has been evacuated.
Yeah, so I think of the atrocities, the horrors that were committed by him and other members of Al-Qaeda, but it has not affected my view of other Muslims. I understand that, just because of one person, it doesn't mean everyone acts that way. So I still, view all people as inherently good, unless they do otherwise.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
What do you know about 9/11, and what do you think the biggest change has been in the aftermath of the attacks?
So what I know about 9/11 is that it took down the Twin Towers. I guess that kind of just was to bring America to their knees. And I see that it has changed the way America operates as far as allowing people in and out of the country. Security has heightened a lot, especially with TSA or just people coming outside of the country just to visit. They have to show a lot of different documents that they didn't before.
Well, we now have a Department of Homeland Security that we didn't have before that. So I think people are more concerned about protecting the homeland, because in the traditional fashion of the United States, most of the wars that we fought previous to that were not here.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the attack on Pearl Harbor, but that was it. You know, there was no other attacks on the United States. So we always tried to keep the homeland safe, but now there's more emphasis on that. And I think you see a lot of it now in the protection when people go on airlines. So TSA, I don't know if it was in existence, but it certainly wasn't as visible as it is now.
Tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
Yes, I know that obviously the World Trade Center was hit. 2 planes crashed into both the North and South Tower, and that a hijacked plane went down in Pennsylvania, and the Pentagon was also attacked. In terms of what's changed, I vividly remember learning in high school how you used to be able to just like walk up to the gates in airports. And I remember myself included, my entire class, like looking at my teacher like, you're kidding, you're lying. That's totally not a thing. Like, we physically could not believe it, because that's just not a thing anymore. You have to go through what feels like hours of security, and it's all very, you know, gated off and, you know, quote unquote protected. Hopefully it's, you know, as protected as we say, but I know there's always those reports that are like, oh, actually, you know, we have all the security, but 3 out of 100 times we only caught what we needed.
Immediately we have what is commonly called the fog of war.
As the president's on a secure phone, the rest of us are working our phones, trying to figure out what we can figure out, starting to work on a statement for the president to deliver. It was controlled chaos in that room, and it was information gathering under immense pressure.
Does 9/11 still have an impact on us today? And are we better prepared for another attack?
I don't know if we're prepared for a better attack, to be quite honest with you. I know for myself how prepared I am is that I know that whereas before, you know, I remembered one thing in the 9/11 was this lady who, I guess she got out and then she forgot her pocketbook and went back in, and that was the end of her. And that has, that literally had an effect on me, in that I try to be as very minimal as possible. So anything that I have it on me. I don't have to be running back to get anything, and that's something that I not do. I make sure that I find, you know, all the exits.
The Pentagon had blown up. Most of the city had been evacuated. We didn't know what was yet to happen. The White House might be a target for such an airplane attack.
I think we're definitely more prepared than we were back in 2001. So like I said, I think we are better prepared because of what happened. And
it was quiet around the table because everybody appreciated the gravity of that moment. We were dispatching the U.S. military to shoot down a civilian aircraft loaded with innocent Americans.
The Region Commander has declared that we can shoot down aircraft that did not respond to our direction. Copy that? Copy that, sir.
Well, I hope we are, but now the attacks are cyber related more than actual physical attacks. So it's changed again the way we think and the way we approach things. You know, you don't need a bunch of people with guns to protect against cyber, whereas you might, you know, if it was some kind of a physical attack. So I think that we're still learning about cyber attacks. Recently, when the Chinese sent that balloon over the U.S. and it was kind of ignored as a mistake, I think they were gathering information about us. So,
finally back at the White House, Bush and his team readied the most important speech of his presidency so far, which he would deliver to the nation that night.
There was a lot of debate internally about what was the appropriate message. It was certainly clear to President Bush that His presidency was fundamentally altered on that day.
I don't think we're ready for another attack, personally. I feel like even though we have those security measures in place, everyone's still in that same mindset of, oh, no one can hurt America. We're unbeatable. So we have this, like, these blinders on. So we're not thinking about, like, oh, wait, this could happen or that could happen. We're kind of just going business as usual. So it's this weird, like, duality we have of, like, yeah, this has happened, it could happen, but we're ignoring it and kind of going back to that, pre-2001 mindset.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
I don't think we're better prepared for another attack. I think, I don't know really statistics, but I think a lot of weapons and stuff like that still slip through the cracks right now as far as, on planes and transportation security and things like that. I think tests are conducted regularly where a large percentage of those things actually do go through.
These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.